and this event will be live streamed so that others could follow up on our YouTube channel. Let's see, okay, it's time. On behalf of the High Commission of Tanzania, I would like to welcome you all to this seminar. Today, we are going to have a session to present opportunities available in the UK to raise capital for startups. We are privileged to have a presenter, Imon Tuami, from UK's Unicom Kingdom. It's a global entrepreneur program. He will be making presentation about the opportunities, but also ways and means to prepare to be able to attempt to raise capital as a startup in the UK market and international market. We had that opportunity last month. I think it was the 10th of February in Dar es Salaam, where Imon and colleagues from London Stock Exchange made a wonderful presentation. Unfortunately, on that day, not so many people had the opportunity to attend. That is why we've decided to host another event online so that everybody could benefit from vast knowledge and experience of Imon in raising resources. Now, today we won't have more protocols. I will just go straight to invite Imon to make a presentation. Maybe before Imon comes in, let me quickly do introduction in Swahili. Jamani, karibuni kwenye mkutano huu wa kuelezea fursa za kuraise mitaji kwa startups katika soko la Uingereza. Mwezi wa Februari tarehe 10 tulikuwa na mkutano kama huu pale CRDB Bank ambao ulikuwa hosted na benki ya CRDB na Tanzania Startup Association. Imon alishare na sisi mbinu mbalimbali ambazo zina msaada katika mtu ambaye anataka kutafuta mtaji kwenye soko la Uingereza. Hapa Uingereza ni mahala ambako kuna venture capital capitalist ambao wanataka kuinvest kwenye miradi ambayo inaonekana ina potential, na nchi nyingi zimeteka advantage ya hii fursa. Tanzania hatujafanya sana, ndio maana tumeona tutumie nafasi kutoa fursa kwa Watanzania kusikiliza hizi mbinu ili hatimaye wale ambao watakuwa na uthubutu basi waweze kuchangamkia. Sisi kama ubalozi tunawaahidi ushirikiano wetu katika safari hii, kuanzia hapa tunapoanza na seminar, lakini na baadaye mtu atakapokuwa anafanya attempt basi tutakuwa more than ready ku provide support. Basi baada ya maneno haya sasa, allow me to welcome Imon to start the presentation. I think he will introduce himself, who he is, what he has done, and then we'll proceed with the topic of the day. Imon, you're most welcome.
Thank you so much, both for those very kind words, brilliant introduction, and for hosting a couple of weeks ago in your beautiful country. We had a lovely couple of days in Dar es Salaam, meeting some wonderful startups and founders. And this is the quickest follow-up we've ever had, and that's down to, I think, the positive feedback that we had. So again, thank you very much. So I'm going to talk to you guys mostly for about 40 minutes about some strategies around unlocking raising capital in the UK. I think what's important to emphasize is, although I work with the UK government part-time, I am not civil servant. I am a founder I have built multiple startups, both successfully and unsuccessfully. And that has obviously left me with a huge amount of knowledge. And I've invested in close to 70 UK startups as well. And my philosophy with these type of conversations is always to try and have a founder to founder conversation. Try to have a very honest conversation with you so you understand what the opportunities are, but also some of the challenges you have to overcome. I really enjoy talking to founders. I think even though we have very different country cultures, very different challenges, I often find when I talk to founders, no matter where I am globally, a lot of their challenges are similar. How do I raise money? How do I build my business? How do I hire people? How do I achieve product market fit? And there's some of the things that we're going to cover today. So I'm just going to share with you my screen, and hopefully this goes fine. If this works. Okay. Okay, give me 2 seconds. I'm going to drop off and jump back on. Zoom is always fun. Hello, panic over. I am back. So hopefully now I'll be able to share my screen. Okay, here we go. Brilliant. So I'm assuming everybody can see what I can see. If there's any problems, please let me know. So we're going to cover how to unlock raising capital and expanding in the UK. So when you have questions, just drop them into the chat. We'll come at the end of the presentation. We'll have time to answer questions and answers. I'm going to talk about some things in some different ways. We talked a bit about this in DAR a couple of weeks ago. So I'm going to talk about the value of death and why that's important for you to understand as a startup founder. We're going to talk about some strategies to raise money fast, how to set up quickly, and hopefully what that means is you'll get some real insight from not just the UK, but from a founder and investor point of view, with some clear ideas around what you may need to do in order to get there. So I talked about who am I? I've been building businesses and startups for 25 years. And I really enjoy the phase of early seed Series A, that time when it's very challenging. You can go in lots of different ways. You might be pivoting a number of times. That's my favorite phase because it's also the most exciting for me. I just want to quickly understand who we have on the call and just some thoughts that you might have. So if you can either on your phone quickly link to this QR code or go to menti.com and enter this code 49519259. What it will mean is I can ask you a couple of questions, and in real time, you'll be able to give me some feedback. So the first question I want to ask everyone on the call is, what stage is your startup? So hopefully people have got access to Menti now. Grab that QR code. You can do it on your phone or your desktop and start answering this question. Brilliant. So we're starting to get some answers in. So there are 79 of you on this call. So I'm hoping to see these numbers shoot up more. So far, we have a couple of people who are pre-revenue. We have a couple more early seed and mid seed. If some more of you can answer, brilliant. We have one person late seed. No one has achieved Series A yet. Some of you just have an idea, so you are just starting off in your journey. So at the moment, it looks like half the people are either idea stage or pre-revenue, with a couple of you now generating revenue. Feel free to keep answering this question. For those of you who have answered, if you could go to the next page and just put in words on what you think you might need help with as a founder. Is it raising money? Is it understanding product market fit? Is it more customers? Is it sales? Is it developers? If you can just type in any word that would describe the help you need, that would be very helpful. We haven't got we've got lots of answers on this one, which is brilliant. We've not yet had any answers yet on here. I don't know whether that means it's not working. By the way, this is the first time I've used this bit of software. So
Sorry.
again,
sorry,
yes,
not pulling up on the app. The next question.
Okay. Well, just chuck it into the chat. Yeah, I'm assuming people need help with the things that we talked about. If you are early stage, I think a lot of you will most probably need guidance around product market fit, how to achieve it. Sorry, I don't know why this one isn't working, but let's just move on. Again, like a lot of people, idea stage, pre-revenue, early seed, and then 5 of you are in a very interesting high growth phase. So let me just click on the next slide. So as we know, like the UK is one of the best places in the world to scale a business. It's got a great access to capital, huge amount of talent pool. It has a progressive consumer market. And it's also interesting when you look at things. So I was presenting with Abby from London Stock Exchange. When you look at the number of African businesses that have IPO'd either on the NASDAQ or AIM, it has a great link to the rest of the world and Africa. The stats speak for themselves. So, it's one of the largest economies, more unicorns than France, Germany combined. There's over 160 unicorns in the UK itself. The stat that I really like to see is 39% of the UK's fastest growing startups have at least one immigrant founder. The stat is higher than anywhere else. And in the UK, at seed stage, almost the same amount of money was raised at seed as was in the Bay Area last year. So it's a brilliant opportunity. The question is, how do you unlock that? So let me start by talking about the valley of death. So this is the typical life cycle a startup goes through. And it looks something like this. So on the left-hand side, you have how easy is it to raise money? And then you have over time. So in the UK especially, it's very easy and straightforward to raise money at the early stage because you're there on a dream. You're there with engaging with investors who believe in that early dream. They're not expecting to see any stats, any results, any numbers at that phase. It then becomes easier again when you hit that Series A, that Series B stage. This is where you've worked out the formula to grow your business and you just need more capital to grow it. One of my favorite analogies for those that have seen it on TV is the Great British Bake Off. So on this program, you see people coming in to create different types of cakes and desserts and what it might be. And in the early stage, they're experimenting. You're experimenting with different flavors, different recipes. And you see it on the program. Some of these recipes work, a lot of them don't, and they have to try something different. And it's as soon as you've got that right recipe, that all you then need is scale to and funding to expand it. The really hard part is when you get caught in the valley of death phase. So this is where you might be a startup who is 4 5 years into your journey and you're still not generating revenue. You still don't have traction in what you're doing. And it's a very dangerous phase because at that point, the question that I ask from an investor point of view is there a real business here that can scale? You have to be really mindful of what stage you're at and what that means for the interactions that you have with investors and other people. In the UK, and I'll talk about this later, there are some big, big incentives on the early phase to get capital to grow your business. Once you've hit that Series A, that's again where you might be talking to VCs. But in the UK, the early part of that market, seed to Series A, is dominated by high net worth and angels. If you're looking at expanding to the UK, it's therefore logical for you to talk to high net worths, angels, but there's no point really talking to VCs if you are very early seed. We have a lot of people on this call who are idea pre-seed and generating a tiny bit of revenue. Again, there is no point talking to VCs at this stage because they want to see more traction in your business. So what's going on behind this curve is a number of things. So first of all, when you're in seed, what we like to see in the UK is as a startup, you have one problem that you are solving for one type of customer, and you have one revenue stream, and this is the one business that you are focusing on. So let me just expand on some of those things. If I'm an investor and I'm talking to a founder, and this founder is running multiple businesses, they are not investable from a UK point of view. Because as an investor, I want to make sure that you are focusing all your time 100% just on one business. If I'm going to invest in one of your businesses, but you're doing something else at the same time, that's really going to limit your potential. As an investor, what I want to see is you're trying to solve one single problem. If you're trying to solve multiple problems with limited resource, it's going to be extremely challenging for you. What I also like to see is a very simple business model. I worry when I talk to a founder and they talk about they're going to make money in 6 different ways. Google, for example, in the early stages, made money one way, and that was by selling ads on paid search, nothing else. Again, it's really important that you think about what the focus is. It's okay to change your focus in the seed stage, and that's when you're pivoting. But what you're really trying to achieve is something called product market fit, which shows that people want your product. But what's more important for me is business model fit. Business model fit shows me you have a business that can scale. You are generating revenue and you're ready to expand what you do. This is a really, really important point to make for everyone on this call. Going back to the stats that we talked about initially, only 7 people are ready to think about expanding to the UK. Ideally, what you need to be having is around £10,000, $10,000 a month revenue. You might be able to get away with it at 5,000, but that $10,000 mark is that sweet spot. The people in the idea stage, pre-revenue, and even early seed, you're at that stage where you are trying to achieve product market fit and prove your business. My recommendation is try to stay in your home country as long as possible until you've achieved that. Many startups struggle when they move too quick to a new country that they don't yet understand. You know your home country, you know your home market, you know how it works in your home market. Make sure it can work there first before you expand. Let me talk about SEIS and EIS. This is a big, big incentive in the UK that helps early stage businesses raise money. The way it works is the first £250,000 that you raise, those investors, those high net worth investors who invest their money in your business, get money back from the government off their tax returns. So for SEIS, they get 50% back. For EIS, they get 30% back. For EIS, you can raise up to 15 million. For SEIS, you can raise up to 250,000. Both of them provide the investor 100% capital gains tax free. This means that when your business exits, as an investor, I pay no tax on the money that I've made. But this is huge. There isn't a better incentive for early stage investors anywhere that I've found globally. And I travel a lot. In order to achieve this, though, you have to be set up in the UK as a top co or have employing a number of people in the UK, and your business needs to have some traction. Otherwise, you won't be able to apply for these incentives. You can't apply for this incentive as an early stage business still in another country. You need to have some traction. You need to therefore then set up an entity in the UK, and then you can apply for these incentives. All the investments that I've made has this incentive. And the reason it's important is because if you don't have this incentive, the business needs to do twice as well in order for me to get the same return as an investor? So going back to the UK market, because this is so popular in the UK, early seed, mid seed, late seed, and even a bit of Series A is dominated by high net worths and angels. VCs don't really get involved at an early stage in the UK. Therefore, as a Tanzanian business, if you're thinking about talking to investors in the UK, what do you need to make sure? You need to make sure that you have SEIS and EIS. You need to make sure that you have some traction and you're generating some revenue, ideally at least $10,000 a month. If you do that, then you can have some brilliant conversations around these incentives. Without that, my recommendation would be focus on building your solid business first in Tanzania before thinking about expanding too quick. And there are some brilliant examples of this. One of my favorite examples from Nigeria is Kuda. So Kuda came through the Global Entrepreneur Program. They are employing a handful of people in the UK. A lot of their execs live in the UK, but they raised with this incentive once they had traction, and 100% of their operations are still in Nigeria. So they're able to get the best of both worlds. They're able to expand their company structure globally. They're able to access capital in the UK, but deploy that back in their home country in Nigeria. And I'd love to see some Tanzanian companies doing something similar. The other big thing that you need to know about in the UK around accessing capital is not only are there really great incentives for early stage investors, but also great incentives for your business from a research and development tax credit. So this is a special incentive for technology businesses. And if they are developing research, if they're developing technology, then they can claim back R&D tax credit from the government. So this means that for every pound you spend on tech, you get 26 pence, 26% back into your business. What you can also do is if you put your employees through your UK payroll, you can also get R&D tax back on your international employees. The reason that this is important to understand is when you are ready to talk to UK investors and access UK capital, when you have your financial plan, there needs to be a line in this financial plan that shows the money coming back in from R&D tax credit. Because effectively what that means is it gives you extra runway. And extra runway means extra time to solve some of the challenges you're looking to solve as a startup. If I, with my investor hat on, am talking to a startup and they don't know about R&D tax credit, I worry if they've done enough research. And for me, if they don't know about it, it shows that they're naive and I'm unlikely to invest in that business. It's therefore really, really important that you understand how this works in the UK, along with SEIS and EIS. So again, going back to that rule of one, focus on one product, one problem, one market, one pitch, one business. I met a number of brilliant businesses in Dar a couple of weeks ago. I also met a couple of founders who are running too many things and they're not investable because their focus is split. I also met some brilliant businesses who said, I'm ready to move to the UK, I'm ready to go. And they are generating yet little or no revenue. it's too early for them. So really think about when it's the right time. The rule of one is also important when explaining to investors what your business is. And if you can explain it in a simple way, investors are far more likely to understand what you do and see the opportunity. Talking about pitching to investors, I love a brilliant pitch deck. I love a brilliant pitch deck which describes what that business does. But it's very, very hard, I think, to get this right as a founder. Also, what's really important, and this is especially true in the UK, is as an international founder whose English maybe isn't your first language, you need to practice that pitch more. And what's even more important than your investment deck is your elevator pitch. Your elevator pitch is the thing that you need to have nailed. You need to be able to explain to me your startup in 30 to 40 seconds. Because if you can't do it in that quicker time, I'm going to lose interest. I'm going to focus on something else. It's a big, big challenge. This is the thing that you need to practice the most on. You need to practice it with your colleagues. You need to practice it with your friends. You need to practice it with your family. I've practiced this with my children, so much so that my 6-year-old could give a very good elevator pitch for my last business. This, I think, is the problem that you face as a founder. So if you look at this text, because you can read English, you can read this. So this says, according to research at Cambridge University, it doesn't matter what order the letters in a word are. The only important thing is that the first and last letter is in the right place. So when you look at your business, when you look at your startup, you autocorrect. It makes sense to you because you live and breathe it. However, if I am looking at your business as an investor for the first time, you have to be really, really simple in how you explain it. Please, I do not like people using startup, and I apologize for my language, startup bullshit. So I met someone, and this wasn't in Tanzania, this was somewhere else. I met someone, I said, okay, what do you do? And they said, we're building an AI platform that redefines the metaverse in the modern era. And I'm like, I do not understand what you've said. You've just used some big words to try and sound impressive, but actually what you've done is you've explained nothing to me. So the best elevator pitch uses simple words. The best elevator pitch is one that you could give your mother, and your mother would understand the business. Let me give you an example. So if you want to start a timer, I'm going to do SpaceX's pitch. So SpaceX is Elon Musk's rocket business. I'm going to do SpaceX pitch in under 60 seconds, maybe less. Hi, my name is Eamon. I work for SpaceX. And the problem we are solving is it costs too much money to put payload into space. It's like building a 747, flying it around the world once, and then destroying it. Our solution is to build a reusable launch platform. Our current product is market leading, and that's the Falcon X rocket. And we are raising 250 million for our new product, Starship. We have a brilliant team who have built amazing businesses like PayPal, and we would love for you to invest in our business. Thank you. So that's my elevator pitch for SpaceX. I did that in, I don't know, 45 seconds, maybe. What were some of the things that I did? I started off talking about the problem. I hate it as an investor when someone says, I say to them, what do you do? And they say, hey, Eamon, let me show you. Here's my phone. Let me show you our app. I'm not interested, because what you are showing me on your app, if you are an early stage startup, is a minimum viable product, a concept at best. I want you to be able to talk to me about what the problem is in simple terms. So for SpaceX, the problem was it costs too much money to send payload into space. I also then used a very simple example, like building a 747 once, only using it once and then destroying it. The next piece, this is really, really important, the solution. The solution is not your product. When I did the elevator pitch for SpaceX, the solution was not a rocket. The solution was, we are building a reusable launch platform. That might mean we create a space elevator. It might mean we create a catapult. It might mean that we create lots of different solutions to this, lots of different products to this solution. It just so happens that our current product is a rocket. So if you're able to explain the difference between your product and your solution, that's when the magic happens from an investor point of view. And you have to be able to do this. The top startups who can do this in the UK raise money very, very quickly. If you can't explain it properly, then the investors won't invest. And then finally, I talked about the team. Maybe having Elon Musk on your team isn't the best thing anymore. But I gave an ask. I said, we want this. We are raising 250 million. We need investment. We need money. So that was my elevator pitch. It's really important that you get this right. This is the most important ingredient. And I would practice, practice, practice. Once you've got it right, you can use this then into your pitch deck. So these are the 12 essential slides that should be on a pitch deck. I do not want to see ever a founder sending me more than 12 slides. I was in Istanbul last week and we asked the audience, how many slides was on your last investment deck? One person put their hand up and said 60. I am not looking at that deck. I see on average 20 investment decks a week. I don't have time. I will literally spend 30 seconds quickly looking at a deck. And if it's of interest, I'll go into more detail. But the most important slides are the first 5. Your purpose, problem, solution, product, team. Those 5 are essentially your elevator pitch. The best place I've ever been for founders who've had their elevator pitch nailed is Lagos. Nigerian founders have confidence to stand up and say this is what we do in a compelling way. It blew my mind. At the same time, I've met founders in the UK who spent all their time on their pitch deck. I've asked them to give me an elevator pitch and they struggle. So please, all of you on this call, even the ones who just got an idea, especially the ones who just have an idea, you can practice your elevator pitch now. And if you cannot do it after a couple of days, go and do something else. Again, that sounds really challenging, but that's what you need to be able to do. If you cannot pitch your startup, if you cannot do an elevator pitch, you should not be doing that startup. That's like the minimum level you need to get to. And I think there's a formula behind this in every pitch, not just a elevator pitch, not just a investment deck, not just a sale. Everything you do when you're pitching someone, there's a formula. My formula is to think about structure. So how many slides? What's the beginning, middle, end? What does that structure look like? Then, when you've got your structure, what's the content that you put in to each of these slides, each of these beginning, middle, ends? This is what 95% of people focus on. The interesting thing, though, is the thing I think that gets you the investment is delivery, confidence, being able to talk eloquently, thinking about how you want to make that investor, that client, that person feel. Too many people do not think about this delivery. And what happens is they spend so much time on structure and content, it becomes too heavy for the brain. And when they talk, it comes out not in the best way. So think about your delivery. If you get that right, you get the money. I talk to founders sometimes and they say, yeah, but I'm just not confident. That's not who I am. Tough. If you cannot talk clearly and passionately about your business and what you do, you should be doing something else. Or you should find a co-founder who can. This is the level that you need to get to. We talked a bit about product market fit versus business model fit. What's also important to think about is some of these are described as hygiene factors. So you've got your elevator pitch and it's brilliant. And you put that into a wonderful pitch deck. So now as an investor, I'm like, okay, I'm interested. Let's talk. I then find out that you only have 10% of equity left and you've given 90% away. Unfortunately, I'm not going to invest because you've already given too much of your business away. If we talk and you say, well, actually, I've got 140 investors and I'm mid-seed, you have a really complex cap table. I'm not going to invest. There are a bunch of structural things to think about that will not get you investment. But if you do not have them in place, I am not going to invest. And when I say I mean many other investors. The easiest thing to do is go into ChatGPT and say, what are the main hygiene factors that I need to have in place in order to raise investments? It will give you lots of answers. But really thinking about that structure, that cap table, how long you've been operating, what other things you're doing as a founder, these all play a really big impact on your business. Thinking about where the IP is, how the money flows, how your company structures are linked together. These all are important. These are all things that you need to know before you start having a conversation. When I talk to founders and I say to them, how much equity do you have left? And they don't know. When I talk to founders about vesting and they don't know what vesting is, again, it makes me worry. So the SAS in Britain, so the elite special forces, they have a saying, and that saying is train hard, fight easy. Sometimes as a founder, you're so eager to go out and talk to people. You're so eager to find investors. You've not done enough work yet to know all the detail. So I would make sure, again, in the last year or so since AI, you have these free tools that can train you, that can give you lots of the things that I'm giving you. So when you are ready to talk to an investor, you know everything. You know the detail. And that way you have a much, much easier conversation. So again, knowing those different ways of structuring the company is really important. From a entering the UK market point of view, you need to be budgeting between 10 to 20,000 pounds from a legal fees point of view to set up a UK topco, to mirror your Tanzanian operations, to link that to your Tanzanian business. I'm part of the Global Entrepreneur Program, and I'll talk a bit about that in a minute. The program can help, but again, I want to emphasize that there are most probably only 7 to 10 of you ready to apply to this program. Once you're ready, the program's there to help support you. It can endorse your UK founder innovator visa. But it's really when you've reached that potential. So the program is run by the Department of Business and Trade. It's after those best companies that are ready to scale, people like Kuda, for example. The program's free. It doesn't cost you any equity. What you do is you get support from the Department of Business and Trade and UK government. You get your innovator founder visa endorsed if you need that. And what I obviously think is the best part is you get my help for free for 6 months during the phase that you land into the UK. But again, you have to be at that right phase. When I was in Dar a couple of weeks ago, I met a brilliant young man. He just finished university, and he said to me, "Eamon, could you be my mentor?" And I said to him, "No, because you don't even have a business yet. You just have an idea. And what you need to do is you need to find a local mentor, a local person who understands the Tanzania market in order for you to incubate and build your business first. And then when you're ready to grow and you've reached a certain size, by all means, get back in contact with me and I'm here to help." The worst thing, though, you can do is try and move or grow too quick or too soon. There is brilliant advice and support that you have in your home country that you need to leverage first of all. And if you get that right, you can accelerate faster. And then when you're ready to come to the UK, you can look at establishing yourself in lots of different places. It's not just about London. London is amazing. It's wonderful. I love it, but it's expensive. There are other brilliant places. I live in a place called Cardiff, which is 2 hours outside of London. There's also Birmingham, Manchester, Leeds. So when you're ready to come to the UK, look at London, but also look at other options. And we're always happy when people are here to show them around, make the right introductions. And typically, those locations outside of London not only are more cost effective, but they have a good quality of life and other things. So if you're interested in the Global Entrepreneur Program, typically the way that works is you apply, get in contact with me. I will then help you fill in some forms, and then you're ready to come to the UK and expand. If you go to hoyle.co, there is a bunch of more information on the site. around some of these things. But again, ChatGPT is here to help. I will share this link to the deck so people can see afterwards. That's my main presentation. I don't know, we've got 10 minutes or so now to go through any questions. Feel free to pop me into the chat. I can help answer. Hi, Eamon. I live in the UK, also Cardiff, like you. Brilliant. Justina. Thanks for reaching out. Yeah, feel free to get in contact with me, connect with me on LinkedIn. It's always must be the best way. Input into restaurants. I don't invest in restaurants. I invest in tech businesses. But feel free to connect with me anyhow. Let's look at some other questions. I regularly speak to apprentices and students working on different projects. The concept of elevator pitch and pitch decks are meticulous, particularly if they can be described in 30 seconds or so. If someone came to you with a sequence of what they want to do, why it's important, how they will do it, and what the deliverables would be, invest. Assuming they did that in the time frame. Look, the whole point is a lot of time, you don't have a lot of time. A lot of time, high net worths, angel investors, this is not their main job. You are going to a pitch event after work in the evening, and the whole concept here is, can you describe what you do quickly in 60 seconds? The concept here isn't to explain everything. The concept here is like fishing. How can you create that bait that gets the investor, that person, to bite, and then you reel them in and you have a more of a conversation? Last year, I did a favor for a friend. They said, Eamon, I have a friend who's raising money. Would you mind doing a call with them? I said, okay, fine. I owe you a favor, so I'll do the call. And I was busy, and we literally did this call. We made some introductions, and then I let the founder talk. Bear in mind, this was a 30-minute call. This founder talked at me for 25 minutes. For 25 minutes. Didn't ask me any questions. They just talked at me for 25 minutes. After those 25 minutes, they said, what do you think? I said, we have no time. You knew this was a 30-minute meeting, and you just talked at me. You're not investable because you are not being smart as a founder. Again, that is very harsh feedback, but it's true. So I think it's important that people need to have a quick conversation, have a quick elevator pitch, and then start a conversation. Then people will get interested. Elias, how to penetrate into the existing business passing the valley of death? The only way you get through the valley of death is revenue and customers. It's as simple as that. I met a business recently that after 6 months, they're already generating £100,000 a month. They've already got a lot of customers. They've accelerated through that rapidly. I've also met companies that are 6 years in, and the founder is spending all their time on the business, but they're only generating a couple of £100 a month. My feedback to those businesses is shut down and do something different, because if you're going to have success, you'd have had it by now. In America, especially, investors like to invest in founders who have done it multiple times. Failure isn't seen as a bad thing in the US market. in the US market, failure is seen as a learning, as a rite of passage. Therefore, what's important is for you to ask yourself, a founder who is 4 years in and you still haven't got that traction, why and will you? And having hope is wonderful, but sometimes you also need to know when to do something different. As a Tanzanian entrepreneur in the education sector, I faced significant challenges moving my startup from prototype stage to full implementation. What strategies or funding opportunities would you recommend for early stage education startups emerging in markets like Tanzania? Great question. I think for me, it's how can you get the product being used in as many different educational establishments as possible. Ideally, with some minimum form of payment being made. If you can only get your product being used by giving it away for free, you don't have product market fit or business model fit. The challenge within education from a UK point of view is it's not the most exciting vertical unless you're including something like AI, some other deep technologies as well. So I think it's important about how it's being positioned. So someone had a question, they want to explain it, feel free to unmute yourself and talk.
I think there's someone here, but we don't know the name. It's just written Samsung.
Their name is Samsung. Hello, Samsung. I'm sure it's not.
My name is Tariq,
Hi.
actually. Hello.
Hi, go for it. Hi.
Yeah, thank you very much. So my name is Tariq. I am a founder of Frontier Icicles. Frontier Icicles is an ice manufacturing factory that is located in Dar es Salaam. Our broad scope is actually direct supermarket sales, grocery stores, fitness centers, bars, and HoReCa channels. These HoReCa channels are basically the high-end hotels, restaurants, and cafes that we have around the city. But then we also have a give and take with schools and pharmaceuticals, universities, and even emergency centers. So that being said, it actually tells a little bit of what Frontier Icicles is. My main question is, first off, do you invest in companies or startups that are in Africa, in Tanzania specifically?
So I'm going to answer this question in multiple ways. So first of all, I invest in tech businesses.
In tech,
predominantly.
Okay. Right.
What's the difference between a tech business and, say, a normal SME? The difference is a tech business has huge exponential growth opportunities. SMEs are wonderful. Don't get me wrong. I used an analogy in Kenya, which was tech companies become unicorns. And everyone wants to build a unicorn.
Right.
And unicorns are brilliant, but you don't see many unicorns on the savannah. What you see is lots of zebras. And zebras are beautiful animals. They're intriguing, they're different. And a zebra for me is a really good size business. You then see lots and lots of antelope. And antelope are strong. They are hardy animals. They are like small SMEs. And they're brilliant. And we need, for an ecosystem, we need lots and lots and lots of antelopes. We need lots of zebras. We're lucky if we have one or two unicorns.
Right.
So I like to invest in something that could become a unicorn. I also like to invest in something that has these tax incentives that I talked about, SEIS and EIS,
Right.
and they're only available if you set up your business in the UK. And it can be linked to your Tanzanian business as a topco or subsidiary, but you've got that set up. In that case, I'm going to be interested in investing. But what I won't be interested in, I'm not saying that other people won't be. There is private equity, there is other sources.
Right.
But it will be harder for someone to invest in a normal standard SME without those things in place.
Right.
Again, that's not to say that they aren't good businesses, that they don't provide value. So, for example, in your space, I've invested in a business called Chillit. So Chillit. Yeah. So they have won a big contract with Heineken. They have made these high technology devices. That means you don't need fridges in shops. So instead of having your beer in a cabinet, the beer is on the counter, but you pick up the beer, you put it into a chillet machine, and it instantly cools it. So they have made the technology and they have then licensed it to other people to manufacture. That's a tech business for me. That has a business that's going to scale. So again, I think what's important for people on the call is to think about what type of business you have. And because of that business type, different people will be interested in different ways.
Thank you very much. I get you. Thank you very much.
Okay, my pleasure.
Thank you, Emon. Just a quick one for me. First of all, thank you very much for your presentation, and I appreciate majority of what you have been talking about. Pretty much focuses on businesses in Tanzania trying to come to the UK or get to a point whereby they're investable here in the UK. Personally, I'm in the UK, and we have a tech business. Maybe for me, I would think maybe it will be beneficial to a lot of people here is maybe to know if there's a way there can be some sort of partnership whereby there is an established business in the UK with enough traction, and then that company in Tanzania, which is probably at a certain stage or is struggling, to get certain criteria ticked. Then they can work with maybe to find a partnership in the UK, whether it's a Tanzanian business or any other business, so that they can work together and get to a point whereby they are investable. I don't know if that is something I've missed on your pitch, or is something maybe is different from what you do. Thank you very much.
Thank you for the question. So my honest answer is, if you're a Tanzanian business in the UK, you can offer that partnership to other businesses in Tanzania. For me, so when someone asks a question, what's the best piece of advice you've ever given a founder? And this may be linked to what you're talking about. The best piece of advice that someone gave me was, nobody owes you nothing. You have to go out there and fight for it. And it's like a jungle out there. And I am not going to give, again, this I hope this comes across in the right way. I'm not going to give one certain type of investor, one certain type of founder from one country who looks a certain way, is a certain gender, is whatever. I'm not going to invest because I want to be nice to them. I do not favor Tanzanian companies over Kenyan companies, over Welsh companies, over what I care about as an investor is making money. Let's be honest. So as a founder, if you are struggling, why should you have help more than someone who isn't struggling but needs help also to expand their business. So my view is build a solid business, build a strong business. If that business isn't working, close it down. There is no shame. Be proud of what you. I failed in my startups. I've also succeeded. And my success, my last success, came out of my last failure. And sometimes, founders say, please help me. I'm 5 years in. I'm still not making enough money. I'm like, the best advice I have is close that down, do something else. So I think it's about making it clear to investors what the opportunity is. I think the only caveat to what I say is if you have a personal connection. So, I may help out maybe slightly more people who went to the same university as me or who came from the same hometown, maybe. But that's a edge case, if you want to take a technical definition. It's not the average. And there are so many good in the UK that, there is so much money and capital available, but everybody knows that. Therefore, everyone is out trying to get the same thing, which is why it's so important to describe what you do in the most clear and compelling way possible. I think we've reached time. If there are any other questions, feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm sure this recording will be shared. Thank you again to the ambassador, to everyone who's made this call happen. I hope you've found some of the tough love helpful. Again, tough love is important because, investors are tough. Building a startup is tough. So if we cannot have tough conversations as friends, then it's going to be really hard when you go into the real world. So thank you so much for everyone on this call.
Thank you very much, Imon, for presentation, and thank all the participants. I hope it has been an eye-opener, and at least everybody got something out of the presentation. I saw so many questions on the chat room. Some, Imon, you have touched upon, others you have not. At the High Commission here, we'll take note of all the questions and organize to send those questions. Some will respond ourselves at High Commission, and others, Amon will request you to kindly look into them so that we could respond. But otherwise, thank you, Amon. Thank you all, and I wish you a good afternoon in Dar es Salaam. And is it good morning or sorry, afternoon even?
Afternoon as well.
Yeah, we're in the afternoon here as well. And it's a beautiful sunny day, not a cloud in the sky. Who would have thought?
For a change.
For a change. Yes.
Asanteni sana ndugu zangu wote, na mtumaini mmenufaika na somo hili, na tutaendelea kushirikiana na kuleta resource persons wengine kupata mawazo ya kuweza kusogeza mbele katika fani ya ujasiriamali.
Tunaweza kutuma email kwa maswali zaidi.
Wale wenye maswali, for those with questions, please put your email address there on the chat room so that we can respond to you. Asanteni sana, niwatakieni mchana mwema.
Thank you, Ambassador.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you very much, sir. Bye.
Thank you very much, sir. Bye.
Namwambia